Hi there and welcome to Thursdays with Annette at 2 o'clock. I'm so glad you're joining me today because the topic I want to talk about this week is it's actually Food Allergy Week. So I want to talk about a few things that might be going on in your body that you're not really aware of. But let's talk about last week first, because I was in the kitchen, that's my fizzy fabulous place, and I made my light sponge. And I had such great feedback from you guys, and thank you so much for joining me last week and enjoying the segment, because honestly, the tower of fabulousness that sponge is, and you just can't fail. And I think there was a lot of sponges made for Mother's Day last week. So I was really happy about that. Now, Lisa mentioned from last week's show that she was going to actually make it for her sister's birthday. And I thought that was really lovely that you were doing that, Lisa. And a lot of you asked about the tins. And really there is a difference between the sponge and the normal cake tin. And if you look at last week's show, I've got photos of it, but it's really about a 2 centimetre difference. Like a sponge tin is small and the other one's this big, so there is a difference. The only other way, if you didn't have sponge tins and you wanted to use a normal 9-inch cake tin, is make a double batch, and that way you get a bigger sponge. So I hope that helps you. But of course we had 3 winners from last week and they are super excited. The fabulous Eleanor Lockie is a winner. Marilyn Dyson, yes, she was very happy, and Bernie Meehan was very pleased. And so in the mail, they've got their book 3 personally signed from that recipe show. So I wonder what I'll be giving away this week. Anyway, so now before we start talking about Food Allergy Week, I just really want to make a point that I'm not actually a qualified health professional. So this not sure, please consult with your doctor or dietitian or health professional if you have any concerns. So that's really important that we make sure about that first. Now, when you think about Allergy Week, I'm glad they've got it because it's making people a little bit more aware. Because in Australia, we have one of the highest incidents of food allergies in the world. Go figure. I mean, we're, this healthy, fabulous nation, and yet allergies are running rampant. Now, there is confusion between allergies and intolerances because they are different. And I see a lot of people saying, oh no, I can't eat gluten, I can't have this and that, but they've never been tested, they don't really know, they're just thinking that maybe they might be. So I think this is where you've got to check in with your health professional to find out. And I found out some things about myself through my fabulous dietitian, not my dietitian, my naturopath. She is the one that really helped me. It's very quick when you go to a naturopath because they test your body, whereas a doctor will do blood tests and it takes a while. But either way, it's a great way to know. Now, when you think about, say, celiac, if you're a celiac, that's actually not an allergy or an intolerance. It's actually but just I do want to mention celiac because like my niece Christy, for example, is a celiac and she can't toy with, I'm not good with wheat, right? But if I have a sandwich, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But if Christy has any morsel of, gluten, she is ill, really ill. So this is the difference. You've got to be careful what you're thinking about your body. And the one way to check in is to actually listen to your body. Like when I was 100 kilos, I think I was really dumbed down. I wasn't really connected to my body because I was it was a love-hate relationship. And I noticed as I got healthier and healthier, I started noticing some things. Like for example, when I had drank soft drink, even though I'd have diet soft drink, my belly would just bloat up with the gas. And one day I went, you know what, this is too uncomfortable. I'm just not going to do it anymore. My body was telling me I don't like it. And the same thing happened with wheat. I would feel really, if I had a lot of wheat, I'd feel tired. I got a bit lethargic and I honestly, my brain wasn't functioning as well. I'd be a bit dumb. And so I was listening to that. But there's lots of her face goes bright red. Now, your skin is one of the biggest organs on your body, and this is one way it's going to try and reach out to you and go, red alert, you know, something's wrong here, we don't like it. So think about if you've noticed some things that have happened when you've eaten certain foods. And in the office cannot eat cream cheese. So if she has it, she's really sick, you know, really, really sick, and it wipes her out. And she's also recently found out that she's also not good with dairy. And if she has a bit of dairy, she notices she gets a bit sinusy and not well. So this is where she's listening and reacting in the right way. And that's why I think it's important that we talked about it this week. Now, how can you tell the difference though? That it's your symptoms come up in about 24 hours after you've ways of pain in the tummy, could be bloating, perspiration, headaches, diarrhea, or feeling fatigued. And so that's where you've got to look at for intolerances. But when you look at food allergies, it really can react in some really serious ways. You know, you can have an anaphylactic response when it's an allergy. So you've got to just, there is quite a difference. The most common food allergies that there are cow's milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, shellfish, fish, sesame, wheat and soy products, and often those reactions are normally immediate when they are an allergy. You can have mild symptoms that you might not be thinking too much about and think, oh, well, okay, yeah, my eyes get a bit sore and bloated, you know, they swell around, you get swelling around the eyes, a puffy lip. I remember seeing a girl that had had pizza the night before and woke up with these massive lips, and there was no filler in there was no treatment, it was a reaction. And when she went to the doctor, she realised that she was actually, you know, had a problem with certain foods. You know, what you've got to be careful of is that you ignore it and don't do something about it. And once again, this is where you go to your health professional and find out what's going on. Now, one of the things that I notice with people is that we do have different intolerances. Like, for example, Bill. He found out through our naturopath that he had a problem with casein, which is a part of milk. What is it, Bill? It's the protein in milk. Now, other people will have lactose is the problem with milk for them, but his is casein, which is quite different. So he just has to have certain different types of milk to make sure he's okay. His reaction to having that was that he was getting migraines. So once we stopped having that dairy like that, hasn't had one since. And so like that, something to think about. Now, one thing you don't want to do is self-diagnose. I said before, you know, once again, remember the swollen eyes, the swollen lips. They can have dry skin and eczema and psoriasis could actually be a reaction to a certain food that you're eating. And this is where you'd probably go to the doctor and have a really good analysis of what your body is really liking. And sometimes it's how much of it you have. Because like for me, I can have a sandwich, we're out and about, have a sandwich, not a problem. But if that night I had bread and then the next day I had another bread and then I had some wheat bix or something like that, then I would really feel it. One of the ways that I also see people complain about is that they get the bloated belly, which I mentioned before. And that can be a really quick sign of wheat problem. And so what I say to you is go wheat-free for maybe 7 to 14 days and see what happens to your tummy. And when you go wheat-free, you've got to do it properly. You just go, well, I don't bread anymore. I mean, you need to replace that with gluten-free bread if you want bread, but there's wheat in so many products. They're in gravy, in sauces, in biscuits, soup mixes. Like, you'll be surprised at where wheat is. So this is the biggest tip I can give you. You need to get educated and read those nutritional panels, what they say with the food on it, you know, what's in the food you're eating. So, you know, let me just mention though, that one of the things that I love to have, and so does Billy, is we have the breakfast shakes. Now, you know, I've got my fabulous, you know, 3 flavoured chocolate, iced coffee and vanilla. Well, they are gluten-free, they're nut-free, and they're artificial sweetener-free. So I find that's really fantastic. And yet, Bill can tolerate those shakes really well because he doesn't eat any other much dairy now. So he handles it really well. Now, when you're catering for people with food allergies, it's really important to be careful. So I've got a couple of tips for you, okay? Have you got your pen and paper out? So the first one is avoid cross-contamination. And what that means is, you know, there could be little allergens in certain things, you know, which could cause a reaction to those people that you might think nothing about. Like, for example, your chopping board. I mean, you might have chopped bread on it, and even though you washed it, it could still have a residue there of some gluten, and for a celiac, that could be enough. Knives. And one thing that's really important, if you know anyone that's celiac, is that they need to normally have their own toaster, you know, because they can't mix it. You can't have normal bread going in and then expect a celiac to be okay with that. Never assume. You know, the good thing now is to say, do you have any dietary requirements I need to be aware of? You don't want to shock on the night when someone says, oh, sorry, I can't eat that. Ask questions and be ready also to tell people what's in the food that you've made. And this is where, by cooking my recipes, you know exactly what's in them. Food can be in many names when it comes to the product ingredients. Now, let me give you a few gluten-free swaps because it's such a thing for people. I always change soy sauce with tamari. I mean, these are quick changes that will really help you lessen the gluten in your diet. Stock cubes, I use the Marcel brand. Gravy mix, I use the Gravox roast meat gravy. Corn flour. Now, you would think corn flour, it's corn, hello, but some of them have wheat in them. And this is where, once again, if you read that ingredient list, you would see that it has traces of wheat in it. So I always use the White Wings corn flour, and that is, it'll actually say on it, gluten-free. Asian sauces, now they could have hidden things in them as well, but I really find the AM, which is AYAM brand, actually quite good. So, you know, check them out as well. I've got some dairy-free tips for you as well, because this is becoming quite vegetarian, or I'm vegan, you know, dairy-free, and it can really, you know, be a challenge when they're eating out. So when you're at home and you want to make my recipes, how can you do it if you want to go dairy-free? Well, straight up, swap the evaporated light milk, which you know I use in so many of my recipes, and use the unsweetened 98% fat-free almond milk. I find that really works well. And you can use this also to replace the coconut cream. You know, milk, you know, normal milk, skim milk that I use. Oh, once again, almond milk is a great one, but remember the 98% fat-free and unsweetened. Swap Parmesan cheese over to natural yeast flakes. It works really well. Dairy-free. So I think that at the end of the day, what I want you to do is I want you to get to know your body. Listen to those signs. If you get itchy, if you get a headache, if you go red in the face after a glass of wine or whatever, you know, if you feel your throat thickening, These are all signs that your body is not happy. You know, diarrhea, it's telling you, I don't want it in there. So I hope that's helped you. But just remember, go see your doctor or your naturopath if you really want to check up on things. Now, next week's show, I'm excited. I'm going to be in the kitchen and I'm making some. Now, once you've made them, there's no going back. I've got to tell you, they're awesome. They're so easy to make, and I'll be cooking them for you next week. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to give you my fabulous book 7. Because in book 7, there is actually a gluten-free section. And once again, remember, it's not an a lot of people, and I want you to try them, because even if you have friends visiting, you then can make for them that have that problem. So 3 people are going to have the chance to win their own personally signed copy of book 7. So what do you do to win? You like, share, and then in the comments you write hashtag simply number 2 good to be true. Oh no, simply too good. Remember, that's a simply with a Y, and you'll go in the draw. And I mean, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy doing it my way? Now, if you want any more tips or recipes, go to my website. There's so much there for you to enjoy, www.simplytoogood.com.au. And I hope you have an awesome week. I can't wait to talk to you and chat with you next week in the kitchen. So take care. Bye now.